The time is 3:36 p.m. We're back on the record.
You've had instances where the bonds were claimed to be void, and then they show up.
Rarely, but yes.
I'll show you Exhibit 29. This is an email that you wrote, right?
Yes.
To Desiree Perez.
Yes.
So if a bond is void, reported to you as being void, doesn't somebody have some explaining to do when it shows up as a forfeiture?
Well, that's why I said until the court issues a correction. But what happens a lot of times is that the bond has to be represented to the court, but the paperwork at the court doesn't get changed. So the copy of the bond that came to us was issued as a void, but the court leaves that void power on its forfeiture, picks up the wrong number, puts another power. The bondsman places another power in its place because something was wrong with the initial bond. The court fails to make the correction on the bond number. So when the forfeiture comes out, it comes out as the void.
Okay, but there's another open bond out there.
Correct.
Is that what happened in this instance?
From my email, that's what I understand happened. And we're waiting on the court documents to correct the forfeiture.
Okay. Have you ever found that bonds that were appointed, were marked as void, were reported as void, but they had actually been used?
Very rarely. Like I said, it's generally something like this. The wrong numbers got put somewhere.
But sometimes bond people will just write the bond, keep all the premium, and then...
They would have to affidavit the bond just like anybody else.
But if you just get a sheet that says it's void, and they get the defendant to court, and you'll never find out, would you?
Well, if the bond forfeits, we find out.
That's the only way you're going to find out, though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, FCS would be none the wiser, right?
Correct. Yeah, there are ways. There are ways that you see little telltale things that happen when you review things.
Well, what would you review to find out that they had been reporting bonds as void where they actually sold them?
Everybody makes mistakes. They wind up getting the pink in with another report, even though it's not on the report, or something happens that you find out. And usually it's just human error.
Okay, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes the bondsmen are trying to cheat you.
Well, sometimes they withhold the bonds because they don't want to pay premium right away, but eventually they turn the bonds in and pay the premium.
Okay, and when you find that that's happened, what do you do?
That's the responsibility of the agent managers.
What do the agent managers do when they find out that that game has been played?
I've never been in charge of the agent managers, so I'm not sure what all their instructions are.
But you've seen where that was happening, right?
Yes.
Did the bail bond agents remain FCS agents after that?
Some do, some don't. Well, it depends on what the agent manager finds that's going on. And it could be someone in their office that's not reporting the bonds. You know, until it's investigated, there's a lot of reasons why that might happen.
So what do you understand is the method for investigating whether there's a chronic problem like that?
The agent managers handle that.
Do they go out to the office?
Yes.
They make a surprise visit?
I don't know that they surprise visit. They tell them they're coming by for a visit.
And then they say, show me the powers. Right?
Right.
Show me which powers are open. Let's see the blank forms. Correct?
I've heard that they've asked that, yes.
And then they'll just sit down and start counting out those blank forms, and they all better be there, or somebody's going to be in trouble. Right?
They're going to be asked why they don't have all the bonds there. I don't know about it being in trouble.
Well, they're going to get they're not, FCS isn't going to do business with somebody who's playing that game, right?
Correct, correct.
Because FCS has a lot,
Yes,
it's putting a lot of trust in these agents.
yes, they do.
Have you heard of Oscar Grijalva?
No,
Never heard that name? That name doesn't evoke any sort of negative feelings when you hear it? Oscar Grijalva.
spell the last name?
Grijalva.
No, I don't recall it.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 12. You remember seeing Exhibit 12?
I may have seen it, but
You don't remember a $1.24 million judgment being entered against Financial Casualty and Surety?
not off the top of my head, no.
This was an amount that was taken from the buff, right?
I don't know. This was back in 2013.
Uh-huh. But it's $1.24 million.
Dollars don't make much to me. I just don't want to get shut down in that court. I don't care how much it is. I mean,
The Has anyone from law enforcement contacted you regarding DMCG or the McGuires and their practices?
no.
Have you ever had an inquiry from law enforcement regarding your bail agents?
Not that I recall.
Who would such an inquiry go to? Would that be to you, or would it go to somebody else?
Well, at one time it would have gone to Bob Sabo.
And now, who would it go to?
Probably Bill.
I'm sorry?
Probably Bill Shields or Tony.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 49. You've seen part of this already, I believe. If we go to the 5th page of Exhibit 49. That has the person making the request is Caesar McGuire. At least that was his name on it, right?
Yes.
Have you seen any buff requests from any of the other McGuires?
I don't recall.
Who do you interact with more of the McGuires? Daniel, Marco, Gabriel, Gilbert, or Caesar? Of those 5.
I'd say none of them.
Who would be the person that you most email with?
Occasionally, I've emailed Caesar, very rarely, and maybe Daniel.
Now, Daniel was the general agent. He's the initial general agent, right?
Right.
And then it became DMCG became the new substitute general agent, right?
There's always people behind that, yes.
Okay. But is it fair to say that Caesar McGuire, if we look at all these emails back and forth, is predominantly Caesar McGuire that's dealing with the forfeitures?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 22. Do you recognize Exhibit 22?
No. Just that it's an email about a forfeiture.
Well, it's more than just a forfeiture, right?
Show cause hearing.
Does this, getting a show cause hearing, does this generate a negative feeling for you to see this a document like this?
Vague.
Not necessarily, not if they're taking care of everything.
As you said earlier, that you just don't want to see FCS get shut down.
Correct.
This is the vehicle by which FCS gets shut down, right?
Right.
They get held in contempt, right?
Correct.
For not paying the bond.
Correct.
And then once they're held in contempt, they get they get debarred from writing bonds in California, correct?
Correct.
So has FCS ever had an instance where, in California, where it didn't show cause?
I think one time.
So what was the outcome?
It's been so long, I would have to go back and look. I don't recall. The bonds were paid and we were turned back on eventually. I do know that.
How long were they turned off for?
I think over the weekend.
So for approximately 3 days, they couldn't write bonds.
Right. 2 days because of Friday night. So at 5 o'clock, I think, is when it was turned off, and then it was turned back on Monday.
So all the bonds that were written on the weekend, were those void?
They just weren't written. They weren't void.
So how did you notify everybody that they couldn't write bonds?
You just email the ones that write in that court that they couldn't write.
Was it just in that court, or is it in the state of California?
I think it's just in that court, but I could be incorrect.
Well, any surety can write, any bail bond agent can write a bond anywhere in California, right?
As long as they're qualified, yes.
They're qualified simply by having a
license.
A license and a letter of appointment from a surety.
Correct.
So a bail agent, a bondsman in San Francisco could go, let's say, for instance, this was the vehicle that FCS got turned off on in Los Angeles Superior Court. An agent in San Francisco could write a bond for somebody that was going to go in LA court.
They'd have to be in LA court to do it. Have to go to LA court to do it, yes.
And so they really don't have to go there, right?
It's my understanding they do, but I could be wrong. I'm not a bondsman.
Because your ability to write bonds, I mean, you have a document that's filed in court. FCS has a document that's filed in court. It says FCS bonds are accepted in this court, correct?
I don't recall of a document in a court. I mean, how would we file it? Are you talking about a qualifying power of attorney?
Yes.
As far as I know, we don't issue those for agents in California.
Okay.
I don't recall that we do.
Well, how do the courts know that FCS is admitted to write bonds, bail bonds?
It's my understanding that they contact the Department of Insurance through the website, and you can tell if the surety is qualified. Yes.
Every time that a bond is presented to the jail?
Honestly, I don't know. I know that we do not do anything to get qualified in a court in California.
You just are submitting your application to the Department of Insurance, and they
Years
approve.
ago, we got a license to produce in California.
And that license to produce was the only thing that you needed to submit bonds throughout California.
That's what I understand.
I need to take a break.
Sure.
Time is 3:55 p.m. We're off the record. The time is 4:06 p.m. We're back on the record.
Okay. Are you involved at all in setting up the new bail agents?
No.
Not at all.
I review the applications that come in to just for correctness and make sure everybody's appointed, sign the appointment forms. But I'm not involved in making the decisions on who to contract with and who not to.
Does FCS do any sort of background check
Yes,
to determine, for instance, if the bail agents are involved in any sort of money laundering type of thing?
we do a criminal background and a credit report.
That's it.
Yes,
Is the bail bond business a very cash intensive business?
yes.
So a lot of actual cash running through the bail agents' offices?
I suppose. Again, I'm not there.
Have you ever read the complaint in this case?
Have I read the complaint?
Yes.
Maybe when it first came in.
You publish on the website. Who handles the website? Who does the website for FCS?
Currently, I'm not sure who's doing it.
Is it somebody in FCS or is it somebody in Myron Steve's?
I think it's not anybody in FCS. We don't have an IT person. We're supposed to get one soon, but we don't have one.
How long have you been without an IT person?
We've never had one. It's been provided by Myron Steves.
I see. Who is Myron Steve's providing as an IT person?
They have a group
Where's the group located?
on the 5th floor.
I see. How many people in the group?
I have no idea.
So, if somebody wants to search emails, is the email server, is everybody's Outlook file on a server?
Yes,
So for instance, your Outlook file is on a server on the 5th floor?
I assume the server's on the 5th floor. We have a closet on our floor, but I don't know what's in it.
Okay. Is Ms. Hernandez and Ms. Watson's, is their PST file or OST file for the Outlook also on the server?
I'm not familiar with PST or OST,
It's like a
their
PDF.
but their Outlook is on the server or on whatever Myron Steves has set up. Everybody's is the same.
I see.
As far as I know.
So if somebody wants to for instance, if somebody wanted to search for all of the emails between Ken Gorman and Kathleen Ledbetter, they would have to go through Myron Steves.
Yes, I would assume so.
Do you know if anybody asked the IT people with Myron Steves to do a search for emails?
When Sia was with us at the last deposition, I understood that she had requested that information from IT.
I see. And by IT, that would be the Myron Steves people.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see them come around the office to try to figure that out?
No, as far as I know, you can do it from as an admin, administrator. You don't have to come to each individual machine.
Okay.
Nothing's stored on the machines.
Nothing. Is it against the rules?
We just don't have any drives in our machines.
Oh. There's no hard drives on your machines.
No.
Is there a USB port?
Yeah.
So somebody can stick a USB hard drive on there and save stuff.
I think so. I've tried to move some files or I think it was to look at a CD, and I couldn't do it, so I think you'd have to know how to do it.
I see. You don't even have a CD player on your machine.
I think I do, but it doesn't work.
Oh.
I've tried. That's what I'm saying. We had a CD that was from an attorney on bail stuff in Texas, and I tried to stick it in there and make it work, and it wouldn't.
Interesting.
But we don't need it. I mean, other than looking at that.
Take a moment. I need to look at something. Oh, darn it.
Has Tony Smith been involved in this case at all?
Not to my knowledge.
Were you aware that he verified discovery in this case?
No, I was not.
just check my previous notes and make sure. I think I'm reaching the wall here. Ms. Ledbetter, that's all I have for now. I have some concerns about the documents that have been produced. I'm going to discuss them with the council and let you know, but for today, we're done.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. No questions.
We're good.
And Mr. McMillan, you'll be purchasing the original?
Yes.
And Mr. Watson, would you like to purchase a copy?
Yes.
Time is 4:20 PM and we're off the record.